all I was saying, sorry about that. I have two different Wi-Fi's on the house. So all I was saying was I want to make sure that you guys know your project's due tomorrow. However, you are always welcome to resubmit a project to get a different grade. Should that be the case as we go throughout this class. Now, at the end of the semester, and this, if you guys have had class with me before, you already know this. At the end of the semester, I will always unlock the previous tests or the previous projects so that you are allowed to resubmit any one single project. So maybe this one you just struggled with. At the end of the semester, you can resubmit it for full credit. So I don't do bonus work, but I do allow you guys to resubmit that project at the end of the semester. But make sure that you have something turned in. Otherwise, a big old zero goose egg is going to go in for your grade, and that doesn't help anybody. I will always, and I'll repeat this for every class I teach till the day I die, most likely in the classroom. I'll just keel over. I will always rather you turn something in that is done well but unfinished, because that tells me that you know what you're doing, you just needed more time. That's fair, I understand that. However, if you turn something in that is rushed and scribbly and kind of all over the place, that doesn't tell me that you know what you're actually doing. It doesn't show me that you've learned the skill, and that's bad. Also, all of these projects are building on each other, right? So I would highly encourage you, make sure that you fully grasp this current assignment, dealing with colorization, dealing with the full grayscale kind of gambit of painting. Make sure that you feel comfortable doing that before you move on to the next one, because the next project will be even harder. What I can do to kind of help you guys out is this. I'm going to share my screen. What I can do to make sure that everything kind of makes sense a little bit here. So I'm going to jump back here. I'm on our Blackboard page. Right? Again, remember that anytime you can always see our recordings by clicking on Collaborate Ultra, click the little sandwich menu there, and then all of these are our pre-recorded classes, so you can watch any of those at any time. Just click on it and watch now. But let's take a peek here real quick at, this is our schedule. This is the actual syllabus for the class. So right here's our schedule, and you can see we don't have that many assignments in the class because I want to make sure to give you guys plenty of time to do these assignments. Most of you have probably not done digital art in this style before, so I really want to give you the ability to start a project and then realize maybe you're going down the wrong path. Maybe it just doesn't look the way you wanted it to look. And so you have enough time with each of these deadlines to actually start over again. I'm doing that intentionally. If you find that you're struggling, start over. Do not keep going down the wrong path. There's nothing wrong with kind of rerouting, taking 2 steps back to then take 15 steps forward, right? So as we're going on this class here, we've finished up with our first big assignment, the two-tone, that was last time. Then we're doing the grayscale, where then you go back and you add a new layer and you add some color on top by kind of staining your grayscale painting using layer modes. We talked about that last class, and there's an entire pre-recorded demo in course content to show you how to do that. This project is worth the exact same as last one, and it's due tomorrow, which is the February 11th, due at the end of the day. We're talking midnight. Your next project will be our last official digital painting project, because you'll see as after we get back, this is right before spring break. When we get back from spring break, we have just two projects. Now, how the heck are we going to take 10 weeks and do 2 projects? Well, no surprise, again, if you've had class with me, we are going to be really breaking this project down into smaller bite-sized pieces. I do not expect you to just jump in and complete both of these projects right out of the gate. We're going to go through different levels of thumbnailing. We're going to go through different levels of designing those thumbnails, building those up, so that by the time you actually get to doing the actual illustration, the actual book cover painting and composition here, by the time you actually get there, you should feel very comfortable, very confident in knowing exactly what you're doing. So again, yes, there's only 2 projects, which is awesome, but at the same time, remember that that there are going to be many little tiny pieces that make those projects up. So definitely, especially after we get back from spring break, make sure that you are here for these live sessions so I can help you through those individual smaller pieces. If you missed that, definitely make sure to go back and watch those recordings. So our next project is to do a digital painting in color from the beginning, from the get-go. So we've done kind of grayscale paintings. Now we're doing a grayscale painting and adding color. And then finally, we're just starting in color right from the get-go. This project is not an easy one necessarily. However, if you've learned along the way, then we are building that skill level as we go. If you have any background in traditional painting, then this project should feel more comfortable to you, because this is going to be more in the style of traditional normal painting, like on a canvas. It's worth a little bit more in the way of points, only 5 points more. And this one's going to be due basically right before we go away for spring break. So you've got a good bit of time to work on this single picture. But it is going to ask you to really showcase everything that you've learned so far. All of the aspects of your picture. It's going to really require you to kind of give it your all. So definitely make sure to not put it on the back burner. Don't wait until the last minute and hope that you can just hammer it out while you're working on your math test. Instead, prioritize this upcoming picture or upcoming project, excuse me. So with that being said, today I had full intention. I went online. I went onto our thread here, our discussion board, where you guys can get your attendance credit. Please make sure that you are posting to that discussion board so I can give you attendance credit. I went on to this discussion board here, and I pulled down all of the previous images that you guys had submitted last week, right? You're kind of in progress shots. And I had full intention on just pulling those up in Krita here, and I was just gonna, drag them in, drop them, and talk about them and do kind of a critique. That was my plan. But two things. One, most of your drawings at this stage from last week here were just line art. There wasn't really much to critique because it's just kind of the basic foundation of your painting. So good for you guys. If you submitted something last week, they look good. All of them look fine to me. I have no critiques to give. However, I was thinking about how can we make today more useful. And looking at the calendar, realizing that your project is due tomorrow, I'm going to take a stab in the dark and hope that you guys are already nearly complete, if not almost complete, with your current assignment. Maybe you are done and you're just waiting to submit it. That's fine too. But I'm going to assume that me showing you one more demo of how to paint in black and white, or how to add layer modes so you can add color, you probably already know how to do that. Now, if you don't, obviously stay after our class or after my lecture here today, and I will answer any individual questions that you guys have. I will showcase exactly what to do. I will give you the answers, right? Your math teacher, your English teacher, they aren't giving answers. I'm giving them out for free, okay? So definitely, if you have questions about this project, hang out with me after class and I'll make sure to answer all those questions. But I was thinking about how can I make today's class the most valuable to you? And I think that the best way to go, because your project is due tomorrow, is to jump right on in to our next project, to give you guys kind of a one-day jump start. So if you're already done with your current painting, the digital grayscale with the color layer modes, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next project, and that way you can get a jump start on it, give you a little bit of extra time to really sink your teeth into this bigger kind of midterm project, because that's in essence what it is. This is basically our midterm assignment. So our next project here, you can see, and here's all 5 assignments we're doing. So we've got project 1, project 2, that's what we're at right now. We're going to go ahead and jump on into project number 3. Now, just like with all of our previous projects here, I've got our project specs that explains the assignment. Then I've got some different stages with video demonstrations here along the way. So everything we're kind of talking about today, I'm going to speed up. But if you want to see these broken down into smaller parts, I've got different videos here to kind of make this all make sense. So the first stage, whenever you're working on this project, is to create a collage, a digital collage. So you're going to find pictures online and kind of drag and copy paste and cut them up. As far as how to lay out your collage, that's what these videos here are for, and I'll talk about that today in class as well. If you guys have had like a photo class, if you talked about like the rule of thirds before, then this is going to be second nature to you. Part 2 is blocking in, and really blocking in is what we've been doing in grayscale, kind of placing these just kind of big clumps, shadows, highlights, just big clumps of color instead of just value, right? So now all we're doing is doing the exact same thing we did in black and white, but now we're going ahead and we're going to do it in color instead of just black and white. And then finally, we're going to get into detailing. How do I mix my colors? How do I blend my colors together once I've kind of painted them on there, right? How do I make something look a little more realistic? I've got some homemade little demonstrations here from previous classes, and I've got, of course, other artists, because sometimes it helps to get it from a different person's perspective. If my demonstration doesn't work for you, maybe this guy or maybe this girl will, right? Okay, so those are the three aspects that kind of make up the project. So what is the project? Well, here's the deal. Your assignment, I'm going to show you, I have two different examples. Your assignment is to create an illustration of your home state. So for example, this artist here, she was from Virginia. So she found the silhouette, the outline of the state of Virginia, made a photo collage of at least 3 images. You can do more than 3, but honestly, 3 to 5 is more than enough. I've had students that try to do like 10, and it's too much. You want at least 3 pictures, just kind of fading, kind of blending in and out, that are inside the silhouette of your state, so that this kind of becomes its own little photo montage. And then you're going to go through and paint on top of those photos. Okay. Here's another example. This one here is from, this student was from Chicago. And so kind of showing the different forms from Illinois. And again, just different painting techniques. So the student went online, found photos, using those photos as reference, started to paint them, and then, or excuse me, kind of get them composed within the outline of their state, and then began to digitally paint them. My end goal, theoretically, is if I teach long enough, I'll have enough students that I can actually make an entire, United States out of all of your illustrations, and I think that would be pretty amazing. But we're not there yet. I've still got like, I don't know, 40 some states to go. So we'll get there. If you want to see the actual write-up, it's right here. This is the actual area, same place you would go to actually submit your project. Like I mentioned, it is due on the 26th, which is the Friday before spring break. It's 15 points. And again, you are working with the silhouette of your hometown state. Now, I've had in the past where students have moved around. So maybe you were born in Texas, but you consider Georgia your hometown. In that case, you get the pick of the litter. You want to do Texas, you want to do Georgia, I don't care. But you do have to do the state that you're actually from, or that you consider yourself to be from. You may be from, Wyoming, but you have always had a love affair with New York. Well, too bad, you're doing Wyoming. So pick the state that you're actually from, okay? All right. So you're going to start out by finding a silhouette of that state. So I'm from Pennsylvania. So all I did was I pulled up some photos here of Pennsylvania. I'm just going to totally steal one and trace it. Probably not great for copyright infringement, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I'm just going to find a silhouette of good old Pennsylvania. Let's see. And you want to go larger because, again, you're painting these. So you want to have the bigger space because that gives you more pixels to work with. So I'm going to click on Tools, Size, and Large. And that really pulls up the biggest size I possibly can. So yeah, I'm just going to take this guy here. He looks pretty good. Why not? That's good enough. I just need the outline, really. Okay, cool. So there's Pennsylvania. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and done. Now, when you are painting in color, I'm going to show you guys an image here real quick that's going to look a little goofy at first, but just take it on face value. Okay, so here's your picture. Now, this shouldn't look like anything. It should look like a bunch of weird colors, kind of like you're looking at like a purple lava lamp, right? When you are painting with color, it is exactly, digitally, it is exactly the same as when we were painting with black and white, okay? You are still laying down your shadows. You're still placing your highlights. The only difference is now you're going to say, well, my highlight is going to be maybe this kind of like, I don't know, taupe color. Well, not taupe. What is this? I don't even, like a creamy orange, like a creamsicle. All right. So my white, my highlight will be this creamsicle color. My shadow is going to be like this dark maroon purple color, right? Or this weird kind of, I don't know, darkish brownish purple round thing. Right? So you're still picking colors to represent your values, okay? You're then going to paint those shapes just like you did before, right? So it's still shape-based. You're not just drawing squiggles all over the place. You are painting large chunks of shapes, okay? So not lines, shapes. I cannot stress that enough. Shapes, okay? Slowly, once you start painting bigger shapes, you'll start painting smaller shapes, right? And eventually those smaller shapes can get really small, these little squiggles. But again, notice they're just shapes, okay? Lots of them, lots of little tiny squiggles, but they're still just shapes stacked one on top of another. Now this, what we're showing you here, is technically considered a piece of vector art, which is a totally different thing, and we'll get into that after we return from spring break. But again, right now it shouldn't really look like anything, it's just colors. But as I slowly move this way, and as I slowly zoom out, there's a face. Right now, I just grabbed this off of Google real quick, but it's a good example. Even though it's a piece of vector art, this is the best way I can teach you to think about painting differently, okay? Please, I'm stressing to you, when you're painting with colors, you are still, just like with black and white, you are still painting shapes, okay? There's no reason to start squiggling all over the place and hoping for the best. You're placing these shapes. Is it highlighted, like his cheek? Is it shadowed, like this chin over here, right? If it's a shadow color, you want to pick a colder color. So think purple, blue, green, colder. If it's highlighted, like his forehead, you want to pick a warmer color, reds, yellows, oranges, okay? As you're placing these colors, and you're going to place a whole bunch of colors. This whole guy's head has a whole bunch of different colors. He's got blues and purples and oranges and you know, yellows and all sorts of different colors going on. But when you place all these colors and they're all kind of in the right place and you zoom out, it looks like a face. And once you've done that, then you zoom back in and you get a little brush and you kind of start blending these edges so that they become a little bit softer. Now you can actually smudge the edges. If you have GIMP or if you have Photoshop, there's a smudge tool that will literally do the job for you. Or you just paint a smaller shape. And that's what I'm going to work out of today, is painting even smaller shapes to the point where eventually you just don't see them anymore, right? They just kind of blend together, right? His ear is a good example of, there's just so many little small shapes that eventually you don't really care if they're actually physically blended. It just looks like an ear, right? So again, I realize that I'm overly stressing this, but I want to overly stress it. Paint shapes of color. Okay, all right, I've beaten that dead horse enough. Okay, cool, moving on. So as I mentioned, I'm from Pittsburgh. That's where I grew up. Again, I'm going to use Krita today as kind of my my example here. And I'm just going to take this and kind of expand it out here. Now, I'm just using this Pennsylvania state shape as kind of my template. I will kind of clean it up here later on. And I'm going to make a new layer so I can kind of paint on top of it. And for me personally, I'm actually going to put my layers underneath. So we're going to call this one here state. And I just double clicked on that. I'm going to call this state. I'm actually going to drop the opacity down so that I can put stuff kind of underneath it. And this is, at this stage, I am simply doing my composition, right? I'm not thinking about painting at all, okay? Now I'm going to scour through the internet a little bit and think of, you know, my hometown, of course, but there's more to Pennsylvania than just my hometown. So let's do this. I'm going to let you guys choose. We're going to make this completely random. I'm going to let you choose. So opening up the chat room. When you think of the state of Pennsylvania, not me, but when you think of it, what comes to mind? What do you guys think of when you think of Pennsylvania? I'm going to let you guys choose so that it's completely random, so that I have no way of previously orchestrating this. You go ahead in the chat room. What comes to mind with Pennsylvania? All right, well, while you guys are deciding what comes to mind for Pennsylvania, I'm going to tell you incredibly boring Pennsylvania facts until somebody answers. So here we go. Either you can die of boredom or you can offer up some suggestions. Here we go. Pennsylvania actually it comes from the root word of pens and Slovenia. Slovenia is a Latin word that means woods. And Pens comes from William Penn, who was originally a kind of more of a Quaker. He moved here for religious purposes, and this became his region. It became known as Penn's Woods. That's what Pennsylvania actually means. Now, Slovenia might sound familiar. Okay, thank you. Thank God, I didn't want to keep going. Sure, okay, so Penn State. All right, let's look up Penn State. Penn State. I have incredibly boring Pennsylvania facts. I'm sure you guys all have incredibly boring state facts. You know, whenever you were in middle school, they probably taught you a whole bunch of stuff. So when I think about Penn State, I think about, you know, you could do a logo. Maybe there's a particular building that really stands out, right? Skyscrapers of Philly, totally, totally. Let's do, okay, we'll do Penn State. We'll do Penn State football, because, you know, sports. Maybe I could do Penn State allegations, legal allegations. That's a thing. That's a thing. Let's do this guy. He looks like somebody. Well, I don't like him. Kind of boring pose. Let's pick. Ooh, this guy looks cool. He's tough. Ooh, that's right. Okay, the runner guy. All right, runner guy. No, runner guy. Come on, give me somebody cool. Ooh, that's a good pose. Look, this guy's running right at us. Bah, 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 bah. Okay, cool. All right, I'm just looking at the poses. I know nothing about football. All right, so I'm going to copy that image. I'm going to paste it right here. Plunk. There it is. I'll come back to it later. Okay. Jordan, you said Skyscrapers of Philly. Oh yeah, look at those tall buildings. That's beautiful. What great architecture. Philly's a really cool city. If you guys haven't been there, definitely check out Philadelphia. I mean, it's not as good as Pittsburgh, but what is? It's hard when you come from the greatest city in the world. You know, it's difficult. But the skyline of Philadelphia is very, very beautiful. I just love this. Oh, look at those buildings. Oh, look at that building. That is a nice cut building. You know, I kind of like just the skyline in general. Like, let's just grab kind of like all the buildings, you know. And then this one here with yeah, kind of like the more of that constitutional kind of vibe, right? Okay. Let's do something like that maybe. Okay. All right, let's grab that. Copy and paste. Again, I'll compose it here in a second. Give me one more, guys. Give me one more. When you think of kind of Western Pennsylvania, so Pittsburgh, Erie, what comes to mind when you think of those regions? Liberty Bell, sure. Go for Philadelphia. Liberty Bell, totally. Yeah, the Steelers. Yeah, that's a region. It's terrifying. Okay, all right. There's the old Liberty Bell. Let's grab him too. Kind of like this one. It looks more brassy. I like that look. Okay, so there's 3 pictures. You are welcome, more than welcome, to find more than this. But I'm not going to lie to you. You got to paint the whole thing. So any more than like 5, and you are kind of asking for trouble. It is going to be a little bit of a challenge to make that happen. So I'm just going to go ahead here. Let's see. Okay, so Philadelphia's on this side of the state, right? Pittsburgh's over here. So how can we lay this out? I'm holding Shift when I'm scaling to keep it in proportion. So maybe it's kind of big, takes up some space here, something like that. Okay, and again, I'm going to turn the opacity down just so that you guys can still see the outline of the state. I'm thinking about the overall composition of the state. Now, in my mind, okay, now this isn't, I'm not actually doing this, but in my mind, I'm thinking about the rule of thirds. If you've never had like a photo class or anything like that, you might not actually know or have heard of the rule of thirds, but the idea is basically this. If this region right here, I'll cut out all the little extras here. If this is my page, right, this is my overall square, then I want to compose this by splitting it up into 3 groups, right, the rule of thirds. So I'm going to split it horizontally into thirds, 3 relatively even slices. And I'm going to split it horizontally, so vertically and horizontally into thirds. So that gives me 9 little squares. Now the rule of thirds is this, and it's just kind of a rule of thumb. It's never perfect, but it's just a good way to kind of start. These intersections right here are going to be more visually interesting. If I put something inside of these squares, it can be a little more visually arresting. So what I mean by that is this. You want to try to place your coolest objects at these intersections. The human eye will naturally look in these intersections more. If you place something kind of dead center, so it's just kind of like right here, then it looks static, it looks stiff, it looks not as fun or as appealing as it could be. It's just a subconscious thing. We could talk more about it, but I'm not going to bore you guys to death. So instead, as I'm doing this, I'm really thinking about placing, so like right there, right, I got my old Ben Franklin statue right there. Or is that William Penn? I don't know. So I'm going to place him, look at that, right at that intersection. That's going to be a cool spot for that picture, okay? The Liberty Bell, of course, I'm going to turn that opacity down. And again, I'm only turning the opacity down so that you guys can see what I'm doing. In real life, I probably wouldn't do this. I want to put that kind of maybe down here towards the bottom. Maybe put the football player over here. Let's do the football player first. Let's place him. Football player. Okay. And let's place him. Now, technically, State College is kind of like right here, smack in the middle, but we're kind of breaking the rules here a little bit. Maybe he represents the Steelers and the Panthers, or the excuse me. What's Penn State? Panthers? Penn State? The Lions. Any Lions? I know nothing about sports, guys. I'm so sorry. Let's see. I want him charging. Maybe he's bigger. I want to zoom in on him. We'll crop off his legs there. That's less of paint. That's always nice. Large and in charge. Big football guy. Oh yeah. Okay. Cool football. Okay. And then now we'll plunk in the Liberty Bell here. Get that kind of large and in charge. Now maybe I want it to be dead, right? I can always break the rule of thirds, right? Something that is dead center is going to look really static, but something that I want to be kind of dead static, right? You got this big city that's moving and happening. You've got the football player that's moving and happening. Maybe I've got the Liberty Bell kind of more in the background. Maybe the football player is kind of on top of that Liberty Bell. Let's do that. We'll draw this really big. Like that. Move this here, nice and centered. Well, that's going to really make this picture look static, but I'm going to do it intentionally, so you don't always break the rules. That's okay. And then I would draw the football player kind of on top, and maybe the city's on top of the Liberty Bell as well. So we kind of put that underneath. Okay, something like that. Okay, cool. I'm going to turn off this rule of thirds. So that's what I'm thinking about as far as composition goes. Notice that like the head of the football player is right on that intersection, right? His arm is right here on this intersection. So I'm trying to place things so they'll look visually interesting. Okay. Now, just to make sure everything's feeling really good, I'm going to grab my little eraser tool over here, get a really large brush. And just to make sure that I'm pretty happy with the design, I'm just going to kind of roughly erase some of these pieces that I don't need. And again, it's a really rough kind of job here, but just enough to make sure, am I happy with this? Do I like this kind of selection? Is this what I want? So like here, you know, his hand is kind of just hanging off of that state. Is that okay? Am I all right with that? This is the kind of stuff that I'm thinking about. Maybe it'd be smarter if I push him a little bit more to the side. Right? Let's do this. Bring that hand back. Grab him. We're going to push him so his hand is on the inside of the state. All right, so just really still thinking about the compositional stage. Not so much worried about the background. I'll figure the background out later. Oops, get out of there. Something like that. And I want him on top of that Liberty Bell. So let's erase some of that Liberty Bell. So he's kind of on top of that bell. Get rid of all this. Okay. So again, just kind of roughing it in. Maybe the city is on top of that Liberty Bell as well. Put that building right on top. Something like that. Yeah, I like this one. I like this one being on top. Okay. So as roughly as humanly possible, this will be my layout for my state painting, right? I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's got nice eye appeal. That Liberty Bell is a little static, but I think we're going to work with it. Okay. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now I could put all this in a folder. I could kind of minimize it and collapse it down. I could merge files. Again, if you guys have had Photoshop or anything like that before, then you know how to deal with your layers. But for right now, let's go ahead here. I'm going to crank my opacity back up. Let's put this back on top. So it looks something like that. Let's put his helmet here back on top. There we go. Okay. All right, so that's going to be my picture. That's what I'm painting, right? Okay, I'm pretty happy with it. Make a new layer here real quick. I'm just going to grab kind of like it doesn't really matter. I'm going to grab like a gray. So what I want to do, again, just still kind of beginning the process, still just kind of building up the process here. And we're not going to get to everything today in class. There's a lot going on for this assignment. If you do want to see the full breakdown, like I said, it is pre-recorded. You're welcome to check that out. But for today, we're going to focus on, like I said, kind of mostly just the beginning stages. How do you get your whole project started? So again, I'm just going to shrink my paintbrush down here real quick. Make sure we're not too much lag. There's a little bit of lag. Okay, fun. All right. Just like our last assignment, I do not want you to trace. It would be really easy to sit here and go, okay, let's see, there's the first side of the building. I'm just going to color this in, right? But it's going to look like it's traced. It's not going to look great, right? So instead, get some rough kind of line art here, right? Okay, so there's kind of something, right? This is kind of in shadow. I'm just going to kind of roughly place some of these buildings here. Again, not really tracing so much. I guess technically it is tracing, but I'm just kind of placing some rough indications of where this stuff is. Not really worried if it's perfectly straight lines, really not worried about much. My brain is kind of on autopilot, and I'm just kind of cruising along here. So just kind of throwing stuff in, right? Now, if you want to work totally from scratch, you absolutely could, but because of the deadline in the assignment, that's why I'm encouraging you to just place some couple, this is more for measurement, right? You're just kind of placing things so that you can speed up the process. As we get better and better, as you are working on your own accord and you're not really all that worried about deadlines because of a project or something silly like that, I would highly encourage you to paint from scratch, to not necessarily trace. Tracing will always lead to something that is less advantageous, less realistic, just less than it could be. But again, we are working on a timeline, so that's why I'm telling you to just kind of throw something down so that you can speed up the process. Okay, so again, just throwing stuff down here. And you'll notice that I am definitely not outlining every building. Heck, I'm not even really outlining it still. I'm just kind of throwing things down to give you an idea of exactly what I'm doing here. Not really at all. And again, doing that intentionally so I can get everything on one clean page, right? I've got all these separate pictures here, and I just want to get like a rough estimation of where everything is. So again, just drawing in the basic forms. You know, that's kind of a square shape here. Scribble scrabbles, just scribbly all over the place. This is not a precise art because we're painting, right? Painting is not as precise as we want to believe it is. Nice lines, put that crack in there. Sound effects help. That goes behind him. Liberty Bell. Okay, and again, just so you can see what we got. Really, I mean, rough doodles here, right? Nothing pretty. Finally, football player dude, let's throw him on there. So his shoulder comes up and over. I'm not going to worry about his actual number. I don't know who this guy is, so I'm not going to worry about him. Maybe he's a star football person. I can't tell you how much I don't know about football. Just again, really, I mean, you can. I'm not even cleanly outlining. I'm just putting some scribbles down. This is again just in lieu of measuring. That's all I'm trying to get to is something so that I don't have to spend the time to actually measure. If we were doing, again, if you had more time, I would really encourage you to draw from scratch and to measure and do the whole 9 yards. But oops. But again, just basic measurements. I'm just thinking about any kind of landlines, any kind of basic, kind of like, oh, that's important, you know, where his eyes are, where his nose is, anything that would be important as I'm drawing him. I'm not really worried about connecting things or again, I'm not sitting here like outlining every single digit, I'm not worried about that because we're going to paint over all of this. Okay, so if you get too precious at this stage, then you're going to have a really hard time whenever you have to paint over everything. This is all going to be absolutely obliterated. So don't get caught up on it. It's all going away. Okay, that looks good enough. Okay, good enough for government work. Here we go. All right. I have my design, right? Like that's it. That's my composition. That's my picture. Now I still am at the stage where I can go through and manipulate things, right? I can still say, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, you know, I don't know. I want maybe I want the Liberty Bell kind of on top of his shoulder up there, right? Maybe it's behind his waist, but I want it on top of his shoulder. So I can always go back and kind of, you know, come in here, oops, and kind of erase that, right? Then pull it back on. Now it's on top, right? So you can always kind of play with that around. Now, as we're going forward, you're still going through the exact same process that you were before. I'm going to make a new layer. You're still going through the exact same process that you did before as far as thinking about where your highlights are, where your shadows are. Now, depending on your personality, there's not a right way or a wrong way to do this, but depending on your personality, you are welcome to paint the background and work from the background to the foreground. You're welcome to spend all day long doing details on like something really important, like the guy's face or like the shine of the city buildings or on the Liberty Bell there, and then just kind of throw a background in if you want to. For the sake of this demo, it really does not matter. Truly, it does not matter. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to start from the background and work to the foreground. But again, I have to stress, doesn't matter. I cannot stress that enough. Nobody cares. You do you. I am absolutely going to color over my lines. Maybe this is a poor decision because, man, there is some lag. Sorry, guys. Ooh. I'm not really worried about painting in the lines because, again, I'm going to paint over all of this. This is all getting painted over. Just putting in a nice kind of uniform blue sky. Not that Pennsylvania has ever seen a blue sky. It's mostly gray and overcast. Okay. Sorry about that lag there, guys. That's rough. I really want to encourage you to add in other colors. Mix it in a little bit, right? Don't worry if everything's not, you know, kind of blended out perfectly. No one's keeping track, right? Maybe it's a little darker on this side. I don't know. Cloudier over on the west side of Pennsylvania today. Lots of snow. But throw in different colors, but also be okay throwing in different colors, right? Not just different values, right? I've got a dark blue and a light blue. If I grab some green or heck, grab some yellowy green, like grab some different colors here, different colors than you think you necessarily would need, especially for the background. Who the heck cares? It's background. We'll just smudge it out later, right? It doesn't have to be clean or pretty. It's just background space. So again, not staying within the lines. I've got a really big old brush here. I'm just placing stuff, right? Just putting some color on the canvas. Maybe it's, you know, I've heard that it's sunnier in Philadelphia. In fact, I've heard it's always sunny in Philadelphia. So we'll throw some sun in there. Right, maybe some teal. Put some teal up in the corner there for Erie, Pennsylvania. Lots of water up there. There's a really big Civil War battle here from Erie. If you haven't heard that, if you're into like history, really neat story with that Civil War there. Maybe it was Revolutionary War. I should probably know. Okay, so just color, right? Now again, you are absolutely welcome to work from, you know, the foreground to the background. I'm just putting something on, and I'm kind of avoiding my shapes here, but you don't have to. Just to prove a point here real quick, you can paint everything, because the honest truth is, as you're painting, you might not like the placement. You might change the placement of one of these things, and if you don't have a background there, it can really mess stuff up. So let's just paint everything. Let's make a big old painty mess with some different colors on here. Still kind of hanging out in the cooler region because it's kind of in the background, right? So I'm not too worried about making things too pretty. Ooh, there is some crazy lag. Should not have done it this way. Oh well. Look at that paintbrush dragging across. See all those little bumps there? Those should not be there. Okay. That's all lag. If you guys are into video games and you're trying to stream something live, you know the pain of lag. It is real. It's harsh. It's colors, warms, and cools, and let's throw some more sun over here. I like that look. I can always drop my opacity of my brush down. Sometimes that can help things kind of mixy-matchy a little bit. But I really want to encourage you, again, at the very get-go, when you're really starting out here, be comfortable just putting and kind of placing a color. Don't worry about trying to blend. You're going to be very, very tempted to try and blend as you go. Please, for all that you can, do not try and blend as you go. Just be comfortable placing a color, right? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and do kind of just rough blocking in, okay? Now, I would suggest that you take, maybe a screenshot of your image, have your image that you're painting off on the side, okay? Just so that you know exactly what you're trying to paint. Because otherwise, how the heck am I supposed to know what colors I'm supposed to use? If you've used Photoshop before, you might know about the Eyedropper Tool. I, again, really want to encourage you to not use the Eyedropper Tool. I know it seems tempting, because like, well, if I need the blue of this jersey, I'll just steal that blue, that exact color. If I need this bronze color, I'll just steal that bronze color. But in the long run, this is going to become a crutch, where you are just literally stealing the colors, as opposed to training your eye to see the colors that you actually need, okay? So just for the sake of argument, again, just as a blanket kind of a statement, I really want to encourage you guys to try your best to start getting comfortable with the color wheel and just kind of picking those particular colors. Okay, so I'm just going to take a screenshot here real quick. There we go. Let's pull that up. And I'm just going to tuck it here over in the chat room. Remember that you guys are more than welcome at all times to talk to me through the chat room if you want to. Let's get my little screenshot go. There it is. Okay, so again, now at least I know what the heck I'm supposed to be painting. And I can always zoom in and zoom out over here. And I can turn this stuff back off and turn the colors back on. Okay, so I've still got my outline. I still know about what I'm painting. Let's go ahead and do the Liberty Bell. Now this is just the roughs, okay? I'm just roughing in some basic color. If I end up changing things, so be it. I'm not that worried. Now the bell, to me, I see kind of a brown. I see this kind of orangey sheen where the bell is. Otherwise, it's kind of this coppery brown color. So I'm just gonna pick a color that I think is close enough. Let's see, not finding it. Maybe more neutral gray. What do you think? Something like that, maybe. That was pretty good. And again, we're just going to kind of slap this color in here. I'm not really all that worried or concerned with whether or not it looks good. Definitely not worried about trying to stay in the lines. This is 3-year-old you with a coloring book, and you are just, smathering it on. You're just going as hard into this Crayola coloring book as you can. You're just smacking that color on there. Now you can always go back and clean it up later, and that's why I'm painting on a separate layer so that I can always clean these colors up as I go along. But for now, just throwing something on here. Very basic introductory kind of colors. Whoa, watch out there, mouse. A little Wacom tablet needs, I don't know, redone or something. It's very, likes to act up sometimes, but it's old. I've had this tablet for, too many years. Too many years. Look at that, just spiked over there. Oh well. Sure, if I took the time to figure it out, I could, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so there's kind of our Liberty Bell. I want kind of that sheen, and again, I see kind of maybe more of a yellowy, maybe more of an orange. Yeah, something like that. And again, I'm just throwing something down. I know there's kind of a sheen on this side, kind of in there. Notice I'm still using a really big brush, guys. I feel uncomfortable using this brush. You will too. That's okay. But I really want to, at this stage, do not get too precious Do not try to make things really perfect and you know, oh, I'm going to use the tiniest brush and get all this detail. Keep it very, very rough. I want to encourage you guys, keep it very rough as you go along. All right, that's good enough. Okay, so there's the roughs for that. Let's throw on some shadow. I see I've got some shadow here. It's pretty dark. Let's see, maybe more of a red, like a warm shadow. See something in here. And by the time you get these three values, even though they're in color, you should feel very similar to our first assignment where you were just using black, white, and gray. It should feel very, this should feel very similar to that first project. Just like so. And then I've got a little bit, look at the shine right here on the indentation of that Liberty Bell. It's almost kind of like a blue. Do you see that? Like a reflection, like a gray blue color. Let's slap that in there too. You see a little bit of it coming up the middle here. Just a hint right on that side. And then of course there's the crack, but really I'm not too worried about the crack of it because again, that's going to be a little more detail than I want to get for now, but I'm going to throw something in just as kind of a symbolic placement, right? And that's it. That's where I'm at, right? Again, from far away, I see the Liberty Bell. Anyone else, I don't know if they'd really interpret that as a Liberty Bell. But you're going to do this phase, this roughing in, with all of the elements of your painting. Then at that stage, we'll start zooming in and learning how to get more and more detail with our picture, okay? So you want to definitely be referencing your composition that you made. You want to actually make that composition by stitching together different photos that you find online. We are kind of totally breaking copyright law, but that's going to be okay for this project. And you want it to all fit composed inside of your state outline. That's the whole purpose of this assignment, is to finish with a big state outline. So I'm going to pause there for today because I don't want to give you guys too much information. Technically, we still have plenty of time. You still have all of today, or the rest of today, excuse me, and all of tomorrow to continue working on your current assignment, which is not this one, right? Our current assignment is not this one. Our current assignment is to deal with the adding a color layer on top of your fully rendered black and white painting. Excuse me. So that all being said, I'm going to go ahead and wind on down. If you guys do have questions, hang out with me. Let me answer those questions for you. Please remember to add a reply to our discussion board so I can give you credit for attendance. And please do not forget, by the end of tomorrow, you're going to submit your project by clicking on course content, going into project number 2, opening up the actual project specification here, project number 2. And then you scroll on down, scroll on down to browse local files. If you're curious how you're going to get your grade, there's the rubric. This is literally what I'm looking for here. So that's what we're going for, okay? If you guys do have any other questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help you, and hang out with me if you have questions that I can answer, okay? Otherwise, guys, have a good day, be well, have a good week. But please keep me in the loop. Either you're talking to me on the discussion board or you're talking to me, through email or something. If you are struggling, or if it's just not as good as your imagination thinks it should be, all you have to do is reach out, and I will bend over backwards to make sure that you get the answers that you deserve. Okay? All right, everyone. Be well. Hang out with me if you have questions, and otherwise, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys soon. Yep. Thank you, guys. Be well. See ya.
Hey, Mr. Kozak, I had a quick question.
Go for it, Kayla. What can I do for you?
So I don't think I don't know if I sent, well, I did send you an email about my drawing pad, but I don't think I sent it to the correct email. So I just wanted to say, is there so like my drawing pad is just not working for some reason, and I'm gonna have to like return it. and I don't know what's wrong with it. Like it's like the pin is not connecting to like the pad, and it's just like glitching really badly. So I've been trying to like see if I can find someone's iPad or something I can use or something
Sure,
like
sure.
that. I'm just having like issues with my supplies basically.
What's the brand of tablet that you're using?
I have to like the drawing tablet, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, the tablet that you're using. Yeah.
I don't even know the brand. It's just like black on the back. Hold on. It's actually upstairs.
Okay. Did you get it like online?
Yeah, I got it from Amazon.
Okay.
It was like $30. It's the
Ooh,
the OSU
OSU.
tablet
Ooh, I haven't heard of OSU.
with the
Uh,
XP pen, ultra
XP Pen.
thin.
Okay, XP Pen. Okay, I've heard of XP Pen. Um, okay, XP Pen. Ooh, $30.
Yeah,
That is a tiny little tablet.
right, you know.
Um, that's tiny. For the 4x3 incher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. It's a good starting place. So let me see. When you got the app, or excuse me, when you got the tablet, did you download a driver, or did it tell you to download anything, any software for the tablet?
I did not download driver, no.
Okay. Let me check. I'm doing a search on my end here on Google real quick. XP
Okay.
Pen.
Okay. Okay. How long are you gonna be here?
Oh, I mean, technically, I'm here for another hour, but I'm around. What do you got?
I have class at 2, so
Oh, okay.
I was wondering if you could
Um,
put the link up after.
sure. So I've got a class. I've got a meeting at 3,
Okay.
and then I've got a class later on tonight as well. Let me. I'm gonna. So I'll be here for another hour, but drop me an email or whatever. I'm gonna send you an email with what I've got. Actually, here, just give me two seconds here. Hang on one second.
Okay, yeah.
So, are you on a Windows or a Mac?
I'm on a Mac.
You're on a Mac. Okay. So here you go. I'm sending you a link right now on the discussion board or on the not discussion on the chat room here.
Uh-huh.
There you go. Okay, so before you return it, and again, it still might be defective. I can't guarantee that it's not. But before you do that, you'll see on this web page on the right hand side it says software and drivers, Mac 10.10 and above.
I
Um,
see it.
and there's two sections there. One is a beta driver, and one is the official driver. The one on top is the official. That's the one you want.
Okay.
So you're going to download that app, and you'll notice there's a little YouTube link that will show you what to do.
Yes.
But you're going to download that while your tablet's plugged in, and that's going to help the computer recognize that the tablet's connected. If after you install that driver, if it still doesn't work, then we've got a problem, right? Then we can kind of figure something out. But I'm willing to put money down that that will solve your problem.
Okay. Okay, I'll
Cool.
definitely try that, and I'll let you know if it works. I'll send
Yeah,
you an email later.
that's perfect. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
totally, dude. I got you covered.
Okay, bye.
See you. All right. Anything else I can do to help you fellas out tonight? What can I do for you?
Hello, Mr. President.
Hey, sir. How you been?
I'm good. So I have a huge problem on my side.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever even the class is going on, I don't get to see the screen like what you're doing. Even if I refresh after a minute, the screen is gone. So I took some pictures and some recordings of how
Mm-hmm.
my screen be acting up, and it says it can't display. It can't display the video or the connection. I don't know
Oh,
whether
okay.
it's because.
Are you able to see the recordings afterwards, though?
So that's what I was going through. Like even if I go back to the recordings,
Mm-hmm.
they usually like glitter. I don't know whether because over on the other side, I'm not in the US, but I don't know what's be going on.
Um. Okay. Let me. So you haven't had any of my previously recordings or anything?
So, okay, the thing is, I can just go ahead. I've been just going ahead and doing the assignment
Uh-huh.
just the way it is, but whenever I try to do some of these, um, I don't know, but
Oh, I lost you, buddy. Hello, hello. Oh, hello, hello. Oh, you back?
hello?
Hey, I
Yeah.
lost you there.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay, so my question to you, so you haven't had access to any of the recordings. Are you able to watch
Yes.
the previous record, like the YouTube videos and that I've posted previously? Oop, did I lose you again? Hey, if you can hear me, try to talk in the chat room. Okay. Rashad, while you're here, buddy, anything I can do for you?